Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Wamanah Yahushua. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, which the world calls God, and Yahushua is the name of His only begotten Son, which the world inwardly calls Jesus Christ. First and foremost, want to give a strong shalom to all the mighty men that's going out there, they're laboring, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, doing all they can to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Not only that, they're enduring the elements, the 100-degree weathers, freezing below codes, and everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Most High. Shalom, shalom. Want to give another strong shalom to the Akwath, right? The sisters that are at home, but they're reverencing their husbands. They're being teachers of good things, and the unmarried sisters as well, being tender, delicate, and on fire for the Most High God. Shalom, shalom. Last but not least, I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty teenagers and children in the truth, doing all they can to make their calling and election sure in these last days. Right, Brother Tazamah coming at you with another cold cut through the Spirit. And the topic of this cold cut is, this is a biblical Q&A. So all and any questions that brothers might have, sisters might have, you might be new to the truth, as you always had a question that your pastor never answered while you was in the church, right? Anything biblically through the Spirit, we're going to answer it, most high willing. Right, let me open up with a precept, and if there's not any questions, we're going to dive straight into a topic through the Spirit. All right, but first I want to get the classic in 1 Peter chapter 3. All right, I want to get the classic in 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse number 15. It says, "But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks of you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear." So according to the Bible, if somebody has a question, you have to answer that with all the hope and meekness and fear that's in you. You can't say, well, hold on, I'll be back next week. I got you. The Lord not dealing with that, man. You kind of scratching your beard a little bit, or you just say, I don't know. If you're a man of the Lord, you got to be willing to sanctify the Most High in your hearts, have biblical integrity, answer that question with biblical proof. All right? You can't be like the Christian pastor and say, well, that's irrelevant. That's off. All right? I think it's a question. All right, from Rondo, drop a dime. Right? Do we have to tithe? My folks be on me about it. Right? Do we have to tithe? Well, according to the Bible, you have to know what tithes is. Now, the word tithe just means a tenth. Now, if you go into a church and your family saying, yeah, you better put in that offering basket. Right? My mom, when I used to go, she used to tell me, hey, you got to put, I don't care if it's $1, you got to put something in that tithes and offering basket. Well, hold on. Where's that at in the Bible? You have to put $50 in there. A 10% of your check that you get, guess what? You got to put that in the basket. Hey, where is that at in the scriptures, man? So you have to understand what tithes is. Again, the word tithe just means a tenth. Now, in the ancient world, right, a tithe would be your crops, for example. Right, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. All right, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 26 and verse number 12. All right, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26 and verse number 12. Right, and it reads, it says, and thou, I'm going to start at verse 11. It says, and thou shalt rejoice in every good thing which the Lord thy God hath given thee unto thine house, that thou and the Levite and the stranger that is among you, when thou hast made an end of tithing all the tithes of thy increase, the 3rd year, which is the year of tithing. So that increase is actually, that's talking about the crops. All right, that's talking about what you get from the field. All right. You don't damn tithe just noodles. You can't tithe the noodles. All the noodles you get in, you just tithe that, give a 10% to the Most High. Though the tithes would be everything that you get toward the end of the year, right, for your increase. It says, and thou shalt rejoice in every good. Slack it says, and when thou hast made an end of tithing, all the tithes of thy increase the third year, which is the year of tithing, and has given it unto the Levite. So the tithes that you would get in the ancient world, you would give that unto the Levitical priest, right? You can't, let me see, get this quick precept. You can't give the tithes into your Christian pastor. Where is that at in the scriptures? All right. Those tithes will be given to the Levitical priest. Now, certain men, you can't trace back your lineage. All right, you trying to chase back your lineage. You chasing back. You can't chase back one of the sons of Aaron. That's will be literally impossible. So you have to know what a tithe is, which is the 10% of your crops, and you have to know who are you giving the tithes to. So you would give the tithes in the ancient world to the Levitical priests, the Levites. It says, and has given it to the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within thy gates and be filled. Because if it doesn't go to the Levites, guess what? It's going to the fatherless. If it's not going to the fatherless, guess what? It's going to the widow. It's going to the poor of your people. When you give tithes in that Christian church, hey, guess what, man? They taking those tithes and they giving it to the Christian pastor. And the pastor, he's riding in new Cadillacs, Mercedes Benz. He's riding in the top cars. Right? You had that one pastor, Creflo Dollar. Creflo Dollar, he was riding in a new private jet. All right. Riding in a private jet. Getting a new house on a damn hill somewhere. All right. What else they was doing? They taking that money. They cashing out with it. Yeah, they might say they pay the bills, but the whole church is set up on a I believe it's a 501(c) plan. So they're actually getting funded by the government to keep that church alive through the Spirit. All right. All that money that they getting, they're not paying without their paying out their pocket for that, man. They getting funded from the church, all right, by the government to keep those lights and stuff running while they're taking your money, and they say they're using it for the right thing, but they're really using it for filthy lucre's sake. They using it to get off on that. That's why the pastor, he might make you feel bad for not tithing. Right, let's get that precept in the book of Malachi, right, which is off. Let's get that in Malachi. Right, let's go to the book of Malachi, chapter 3. Right, this is Malachi chapter 3 and verse number 8. All right, this is Malachi 3 and 8. You might have heard this verse in the church. If you haven't heard this verse in the church, you heard this verse somewhere. All right, this is not a new verse. Well, you know, we just bringing this one up. Your pastor, 9 7 of 10, has used this verse. Right, this is Malachi 3 and 6. Well, 3 and 8, it says, will a man rob God? So they gonna say, hold on, would a man rob God? I remember my pastor, he kind of used this verse on this. All right. He said, hey, would a man rob God? Right, so you can't rob God. You have to give your tithes and offering. And the whole church didn't even know what is a tithe and what is the offering for. It says, yet have ye robbed me, but ye say, where have ye robbed thee? And tithes and offerings. Now, this has nothing to do with you giving tithes and offerings in a church. This actually has nothing to do. This was actually talking about the Levites. When you read this whole chapter, Malachi, it's actually talking about the Levites that wasn't paying their tithes and offering during the time of Malachi the prophet. So this has nothing to do with you, man. So these pastors, they using these verses and they doing God knows what with it. Let's go to the book of Numbers. All right. Let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 18. Right, this Numbers chapter 18 and verse number 26. It says, thus speak unto the Levites. So again, this is only for the Levites. It's only for the Levitical priests. It says, and say unto them, when ye take of the children of Israel the tithes which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then ye shall offer up an heave offering of it for the Lord, even a tenth part of the tithe. So when you give to the children of Israel the tithes, again, it's to the Levites. It's for the Levites. It's not for the Christian pastors. So if you paying tithes in a church, I mean, and they making you give money, that's just madness. Next time your pastor say, well, hold on, you got to put into the collection. But you got to tell them, well, hold on, you're not a Levite. According to the Bible, only the Levites are able to take of these tithes. And you got to explain to them, well, guess what? The tithes, that's really, the tithes is a 10% of the crops that you will have. All right, let's go to Genesis real quick. Chapter 28. Let's go to the book of Genesis, chapter 28. All right, this Genesis 28 and verse number 22, right? Dealing with Jacob. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee, right? So Jacob said anything that the Most High gives him, he was going to give a tenth to the Lord. That could be, again, anything. So Jacob, he paid tithes. In the ancient world, our forefathers paid tithes. Let's get that precept. All right. In the ancient world, you have to reverence your priest. All right. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 7, and verse number 31. Right. Sirach 7 and 31. It says, fear the Lord and honor the priest, and give him his portion at his commanded thee, the first fruits, and the trespass offering, and the gift of shoulders, and the sacrifice of sanctification, and the first fruits of the holy things. So it's not that you don't have to pay tithes, but the way that you're going about the tithes with the church, that will be off. All right, we're gonna go to the next question. Salakia. Next question from Salakia. Next question from Stefano Kennedy. What does the Bible say about nuns? For example, women who don't have intercourse for life. Right? Well, those nuns, that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's dealing with the Roman Catholic Church and those Catholic priests. Right? Now, a woman, a woman, she could abstain from sexual intercourse for her life and, be, as they say, celibate or abstinent. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's go to the book of Second Esdras. Right, but you're not going to find nuns in the Bible, those women. And a lot of those nuns be off, man. They say, they celebrate, but those nuns be, dealing with men. All right, so you're not going to find the word nun in the Bible or a woman that's dressed up in all black with a little thing. That's all, going into those Catholic priests. All right, but you can have a woman, that's abstinent. All right, let's go to the book of Second Esdras. Let's go to the book of Second Esdras. And I want Right, second address, I believe I want chapter 7. Second address, chapter 7, and verse number 54. It says, "For we have walked in unpleasant places, and that the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness." All right, so in the latter days, yeah, like the brother Don Israel said, them nuns be secretly freaking off. Yeah, and those nuns, man, we hear stories, right? Stories. Those nuns be, they be dealing with men. They get off from their holy priestly service, and next thing you know, you catch the same nun that was in a church. You damn see her at a bar. All right, she getting seduced by this Jake, and next thing you know, she leave home with him. They go to a hotel, to sleep in. All right, and that's all she wrote. So those nuns, they be freaking off through the spirit. But if you using abstinence, what is abstinence is really going into you abstaining from, as they would say, alcohol or sexual intercourse. But people that use abstinence, the Lord said they're gonna shine above the stars. All right, also known as chastity. Now the Lord does encourage a woman to be chaste. All right, you have many women in the scriptures that was chaste that didn't have a man, for lack of better terms. All right, let's go to the book of Judah, chapter 16. Or didn't have a husband, rather. All right, let's go to the book of Judah, chapter 16, and verse number 22. I'm going to start at verse 21. It says, "After this time, everyone returned to his own inheritance. And Judith went to Bethulia and remained in her own possession, and was in her time honorable in all the country. And many desire her." So Judith, was a widow. Her husband had died during the time of the barley harvest, as you read about. So many men desired Judith, but none knew her all the days of her life after that Manasseh, her husband, was dead and gathered to his people. Now, technically, since Judith's husband had passed away, she would have been able to remarry only if it was a man of the Lord. But Judith, she chose to be abstinent for the rest of her life and not have intercourse anymore. And it said many men desired her. So you had certain men, they wanted to, take care of Judith. They wanted to endow her to be their wife, their possession. But Judith knew no man all the days of her life except her husband Manasseh after he was dead. It says, "But she increased more and more in honor and waxed old in her husband's house, and being 105 years old, and made her maid free. So she died in Bethulia, and they buried her in the cave of her husband Manasseh." Right, so you had Judith, after her husband passed, she didn't know any other man for the rest of her life. All right, but yet Judith wasn't a nun. All right, we'll have to pull up the definition of the word nun, and actually, go into that, seeing what that's going into. All right, but like we says, those nuns, they not really nuns, man. All right, they wasn't really nuns. They was, just going off. Right, but this is the book of Luke, chapter 2 and 36. It says, "And there was one Anna, a prophetess, the daughter of Phanuel of the tribe of Asher. She was of a great age and had lived with an husband 7 years from her virginity. And she was a widow." So after her husband passed, she became a widow. "About 64 years, which departed not from the temple, but served God with fastings and prayers night and day." So again, we have another woman who is a widow that abstained from intercourse after her husband has passed, and she was just focused on fasting and praying unto the Most High God. Now we will say, all right, you want to make sure that if you're a woman, that you tend to find a significant other, because that plays a role in why you were created. Now you have a lot of women nowadays that, guess what they saying? I don't want a man. I don't want a man, neither do I need a man. A man can't do anything for me. According to the ancient world, now you had a select few that was maybe abstinent or didn't have intercourse for their life. Maybe a small remnant. But for the most part, women were getting married in the ancient world. Now the women, they're not getting married now. They saying, I just don't want a man. I don't need a man. Well, hold on. Men, guess what? They built the world that you live in. Without a man, you wouldn't be able to survive in the wilderness by yourself. So we come into this, after the 20th century, we come into this world where a lot of things is backwards from the biblical times. That's why Paul said, let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians. Paul encouraged marriage. Paul said in Hebrews 13:4, a marriage is honorable. A marriage is beautiful, man. When a man gets together with a woman and they become one flesh and they have beautiful children. That's something, if that's not the most beautifulest thing on the earth, I mean, what's more beautiful than that? An honorable marriage. A man and a woman coming together on one accord, having beautiful children, raising a beautiful family. Right? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter. Right? It's 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse number 8. It says, I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. So what we do encourage brothers and sisters to get married, because it's better to marry than to burn for the rest of your life. Right? You don't want to be burning in the spirit of lust. All right. All right, Lord willing, that answer your question. We're going to move on. From Chapash Cha Y'all WFI. Shalom, what's the age of marriage for women? All right, let's go to it. Right now, it's not a specific age for marriage, but you have something called the flower of a woman's age. Going into when a woman is fully developed. Because just like anything, everything has stages in life. A butterfly has stages. A butterfly starts off as a caterpillar. Does that mean it's at its full peak when it's a caterpillar in a cocoon? No. All right. A dog, it starts off as a puppy, and then it increases into adult dog. You have man. You start off as a fetus. Then, become a newborn. Then as time goes on, you grow. So everything in this world, even a tree starts off as a seed. That doesn't mean that it's at its full peak when it's a seed. So everything has a set stage and a developing stage. For a woman, the age of marriage, that would totally be up to the father, to his discretion, seeing when is his daughter marriageable. All right, let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians. All right, chapter 7 and verse 36. 1 Corinthians 7 and 36. But if a man think he behaveth himself uncomely toward his virgin, because you might have, let's say you have a daughter, all right, and she's a virgin. You might think that you behaving uncomely towards her because you're not giving her off in a marriage. You might be prolonging. A man might be interested, but you might say, you know what? I think she needed just one more year. I think she just need a couple more months. And you keep prolonging the marriage. It says, if she past the flower of her age and needs so require, let him do what he will. He sinneth not, let them marry. So if a woman is past the flower of her age, meaning Because a flower, even a flower has different stages until it becomes fully blossomed. You don't want to get a flower when it's at the growing stage. You want to get that flower when it's fully developed. So it would be totally up to the father. So when his daughter is at his peak in her prime, she's mature mentally, she's mature emotionally, she's mature physically, she's mature in his truth, serving the Most High God. Then you say, you know what? Okay, now it's time to get her off. In this society in America, they say a woman is fully developed at 18, you're legal. But a lot of 18-year-old women, they don't know what's going on. They still childish. A lot of 18-year-old women, you know, they don't have the skill set of what it means to be a wife. So it all depends on the man's daughter. All right, let's go to Sirach. You got certain brothers saying, yeah, she's fully ready when she gets on her period, her flower. No, that's off. Because a woman could be 13 years old and that's when her menstrual cycle just now begins. Does that mean she's ready to be married at 13 years of age? No, that's complete wickedness. But again, if that's your daughter, you're going to know the ins and out about it. You're going to know if she's fully ready. Let's go to the book of Sirach. So it's no really Pacific age. All right. Now, when we say it's no Pacific age, obviously we're not talking about under the age, but a man's daughter might be ready at the age of 23. Another man's daughter might be ready at the age of 20. Another man's daughter might be ready at the age of 26. Right? It all depends. Right? It's Sirach chapter 42 and verse number, I'm going to start at verse 9. It says, the father waketh for the daughter when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep. Right? For men to have daughters, you know, it's a lot of stress that could come with it, man. You barely getting sleep. You tossing and turning. You wondering, wow, man, it's my daughter. Is she going to get married? Or is she going to remain in my house forever? Is she going to have a baby out of wedlock? Or is she going to be a harlot? You might be stressing out. It says, when she is young, let she pass the flower of her age. Because when a woman is in her youth, again, she's in her prime. You don't want to wait till your daughter is modern term. You don't want to wait till your daughter, she's 35, still living in your house, man. Because she hasn't been married off. Or 30. All right? A woman typically is in her prime as a youth. All right? Early, mid-20s. Now, a man is different. As a man gets older, he starts increasing. Women, as they get older, they start decreasing. Men and women don't have the same bodies. A man could get married at the age of 40 and be fully developed. But a woman, is going to be harder for her at the age of 40 to probably find a husband. Not only to find a husband, she might get married, but, you know, she's up there in age, so her reproductive system is not as strong as she was when she was in her youth. Now it's harder for her to bear children. Now you got women saying, you know, hey, just wait till you're 40 and 50, then get a man. It don't work like that. Reading on, it says, lest she pass the flower of her age, and being married, lest she should be hated. And her virginity, lest she should be defiled, and God with children in her father's house, and having a husband, lest she should misbehave herself. And when she is married, lest she should be barren. So this is all the thoughts that's going through a father's head. The point that we bring this out is to touch on that flower of her age. When you look up that word in the Greek, that's going into when a woman is fully developed. All right. So it's up to the discretion of the father and wisdom. All right, let's go to the next question. From DeMarcus Anderson. Darkest Anderson. What will the whole world burn up in the last days? All right. Well, technically, the whole world, as far as Russia, Antarctica, Alaska, Africa, all 7 continents, be on soul but fire. That's up to the Lord, really. I don't think, according to prophecy, Antarctica is not mentioned in prophecy being burnt up by nuclear thermal fire. Now, we're not saying that's not going to happen, but what's really going to be on fire is Babylon the Great is going to burn. We know that for sure. Now, we obviously have different places on the earth. You have Madagascar, you have Australia, Antarctica, and you have certain parts of the earth that's not even discovered. You have the uttermost parts of the earth. So to say that the whole world will burn up, that's up to the Lord. I don't think so, but we know for sure that America will burn up. And certain parts that's dealing with World War III will be on fire. All right. So brother might say, well, hold on, Ace. Antarctica, that's going to be on fire with thermonuclear heat. Now, ultimately, the Most High is going to take, after he destroys America, the Lord it's gonna be battle over there in the battle. Well, you had the battle of Armageddon in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. It's gonna be war. But it's certain parts of the earth that's really kind of, only the Most High knows if that's going to be untouched. Like we said, we have other parts of the utmost parts of the earth where man has never discovered. It's huge land masses like Antarctica that we don't really have enough prophecy on to touch on that. But for the most part, the place that we know that for sure will burn up is America, Babylon the Great, and you can find that in prophecy. Let's go to the book of Malachi. All right, let's go to the book of Malachi, the classic. All right, this is the book of Malachi, chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, all that do wickedly, shall be stubble. And that day shall come that shall burn them up, said the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch." So for the most part, majority of the parts of the earth is going to be destroyed. Now, there's going to be certain parts that people might not even be residing at. But all of the proud people that do wickedly, the people that you see sinning, whether they in China, all right, whether they in America, hey, it's people that's sinning that's going off in Europe, man, and Alaska, and the Netherlands. It's people that's gonna have to be beamed up that's in these different parts of the earth. It's people that's gonna have to be beamed up in Australia. It's people that's gonna have to be beamed up in Africa. It's people that's gonna have to be beamed up in Europe, South America. So wherever it's righteous people at, it's always gonna be wicked people there. It's a just balance. And we just read that day is coming that shall burn up the wicked. So you're going to have wicked people dying literally in many different places. All right. People, they're going to be, the Most High is going to kill those people. Not just only in America, but you have something in the scriptures called the lake of fire, which is chiefly going to be in Babylon the Great. All right, let's go to the book of Revelation. All right, chapter 20 and 14. Revelation 20 and 14. "And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire." Right? This is the second death. "And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." So that lake of fire is what John the Revelator seen in his vision. It was like a whole lake on fire. But what he really seen was America, Babylon the Great, being burnt with fire. As a whore is going to be burned. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18. Because in the law, if the priest's daughter was a whore, you would burn her with fire. Right? This is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 8. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, talking about Babylon the Great, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. So she's going to be burnt. Babylon, that's for sure going to be burnt. Different places of the earth is for sure going to be burnt. But as far as the whole earth being burnt, you know, according to scripture, we can't really say that. Because like there's no scripture in the Bible where it says, yeah, Antarctica is going to be burnt with fire for all of her wickedness. It's certain places in prophecy that we know are going to be destroyed. But as far as the whole world, you know, we can't say that. All right, let's get one more. 2 Peter. Now the Lord is going to cleanse the whole earth. All right, and make a new heaven and a new earth. Right, this 2 Timothy chapter 3, actually 2 Peter chapter 3, right? 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse number 10. It says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works therein shall be burnt up. Right? So for the most part, it's going to be mass destruction everywhere. Thus said the Lord. That's going to need to happen before the Lord returns, so everything could get purified. All right. Lord willing, that answer your question. We're going to move on. From Kalina, what seal are we currently in? All right, let's go to it. Let's go to the book of Revelation. Right, so we are currently in the 4th seal. All right, you have 7 seals you have 7 seals that God has created, and within those 7 seals, they let you know what time of the end that you are living in. When the 7th seal kicks off, that's when Christ will make his second return. So within these 7 seals, you could kind of dictate the second coming of Jesus Christ. Right? So this is Revelation chapter 5 and verse number 1. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written, and on the backside sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to loose the seals thereof. So you had a book in the 3rd heaven. All right. I really can't give an example, but there's many books in the 3rd heaven. You might have a big ancient book in the 3rd heaven. Now this book has 7 seals written in it. And the angel is saying, who is able to open up this book and have these 7 seals come out? Verse 3, and no man in heaven, nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. So nobody was able to open up this book. Not the world's strongest man, not the world's fastest man. No angel could open up this book. This book was completely shut and sealed. It says, and you couldn't even look on this book. That's how mighty it was. It reads, and one of the elders said unto me, weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him that sat upon the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. So the only person that could open this book was Jesus Christ himself, the King of Kings, the Lamb, without blemish, without spot. All right, so that's just a little backstory on the 7 seals. Now, what seal we are living in? We're living currently in the 4th seal. We're about to prove that. Let's go to Revelation chapter 6 and 7. It says, and when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on it was Death. Now, when you go into all of these horses, when you go into hippology, different color horses mean something. The color of horses means something. All right, you have, grizzled and bay horses. You have black horses. You have white horses. You have red horses, speckled horses. They all mean something. So this pale horse represents death. All right, and hell followed him. It says, and hell followed, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. So you had death and hell. Death, obviously, which is death. Hell, which represents the grave. All right. It was sent over the fourth part of the earth. Now, when it means it was sent over the fourth part of the earth, that's going into all four corners of the earth. All right. That's not literally, the fourth part. Let's get a precept on that. Go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 11. So the fourth part represents throughout all the earth. All right. This is Isaiah chapter 11 and verse number 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall gather and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So the Lord is, at the end of the days, he's going to gather all the outcasts of Israel. Now, if all the outcasts of Israel, they're scattered, the Lord said he's going to scatter us into the fourth part of the earth. All right. Four corners of the earth, rather. Is that literally four corners? No, that's just throughout all the earth. So that fourth part is throughout all the earth, that death and hell will follow every fourth part of the earth, meaning throughout all the earth. All right, going back to Revelation. Actually, let's get one more precept on that fourth part. All right, Revelation chapter 7 and 1. And after these things, I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. So you have four angels standing on the four corners. Again, that's not literal. It's just throughout all the parts of the earth where there are four angels everywhere, meaning through the four corners, meaning everywhere. So let's go back to Revelation chapter 6. All right, Revelation chapter 6 and verse number 8. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So this is how we know we still in the fourth seal, because all of these seals, you have to check these things off and see, okay, did these things happen? So we know to kill with the sword, many men have been killed with the sword throughout the four corners of the earth. Many people have died. We see that right now. There's a lot of people dying in Ukraine still. As people dying in Israel, Lebanon, Russia, the whole war with Russia and Ukraine. There's people dying in Africa at a high rate. So we know that's checked off. And with hunger. Now, throughout the four corners of the earth, everybody hasn't suffered a famine yet. So we know this is still left to be checked off. America hasn't seen a famine. To my knowledge, America being a part of Canada hasn't seen a famine. South America, it might be parts with a famine, but for the most part, they have not seen a famine. Europe, to my knowledge, hasn't seen a massive famine throughout the whole land. So we're really missing a famine. It says, and with death, we know many people have died. And with the beasts of the earth, many people have died with the beasts of the earth. So we really waiting for the famine to kick off. Once the famine kick off, then the fourth seal will be complete. Now we will move into the fifth seal. All right, let's see what the fifth seal is. Verse 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the souls, under the altar, the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them which dwell on the earth? Now, we haven't, now somebody could correct me, but last time I checked, on a massive level, nobody has been killed for the word of God. All right? For you keeping the word of God, you keeping the commandments, you're being a follower of Christ, you're doing what you're supposed to. Men are not killing people for that. That has not happened yet. But it will come a time where men and women who are in Christ will suffer persecution. Literal person. Now, we're not talking about you being discriminated. We're not talking about you kind of coming in sad to your HR at your job saying, somebody laughed at me for reading the Bible. We're not talking about that. We're talking about where men are literally going to kill you, meaning shoot you, stab you, breaking your neck, starving you, torturing you for the word of God. That has not happened yet. So therefore, we cannot be in the fifth seal. All right. So we are currently, in a fourth seal. All right. We are currently in a fourth seal. All right. Let's go to the book. Well, not the book. All right. Let's read the next question. It says, if Amalek is Esau's son, then who are the Amalekites in the book of Genesis, the 14th chapter? Are there two different Amalekites, Genesis 14 and 7 versus Genesis 36 and 12? Right, that's a good question. We're going to answer that. All right. I was wondering if, somebody was ever going to ask this. But when you go to Genesis chapter 14, all right, the Amalekites, the Amalek, rather, Genesis chapter 14 was a place before it was a people. All right. For example, the land of Canaan, which would be, technically it would be Israel. All right. But it was classified as the land of Canaan that was given to the Canaanites. Once we took that over, guess what? It became Israel. All right. Now, when you go into it, the chosen seed line has been through Abraham, all right, through the men of old, Eber, all the way down. They have been on this earth. They have been existing. Yet that land wasn't called after his name yet. So we read Genesis chapter 14 and 6. All right. Genesis 14 and 6. It says, and the Horites and their Mount Seir and into El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites that dwelt in Hazim Tamar. So those Amalekites were the people that was inhabited that land, not being the son of Esau, because Esau wasn't born yet for those people to be the descendants of Esau. For example, when you read the book of Job, all right, you read about Eliphaz the Temanite. Now, during the book of Job, it would be technically no such thing as a Temanite, because Teman is the son of Esau. But that the land of Teman, it was a land before it was actually a people. If that makes sense. Right, this is the book of Job, chapter 1 and verse number, well, actually I want 2. Right, this is Job chapter 2 and 11. It says, now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and so far the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. So it says Eliphaz the Temanite. Now some people might say, well, hold on. Eliphaz must be a son of Esau because he's a Temanite. Well, during the book of Job, this predates Esau. This book and this story predates Esau even being born. So it's impossible for Eliphaz to be an Edomite or a Temanite because Esau wasn't born. Why was Eliphaz a Temanite? Because he inhabited that land of Teman, which was before it was an actual people. For example, we know that Elijah was an Israelite. He was a prophet. But yet Elijah was called a Tishbite. Why was he called a Tishbite? Because he was an inhabitant of the land of Tish. So when you go into these different land masses, they have different names of groups of people that came later after, right? If that makes sense. All right, let's move on. Question. All right, from Derek Moss. All right, it says, I thought I read somewhere in the Bible, but I can't recall. Does the scripture speak on eating the young of lawful animals, example eggs, veal, etc.? Right. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. You know, if you could kind of re-put the scripture in the chat, Lord willing, I could, go into it. I think you might be talking about Deuteronomy 14 and 21. 14 and 21. All right. It says, ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. Right, so you might be talking about that. Where the Lord said, you can't seethe a kid in his mother's milk. What that's saying is, let's say you have a baby lamb. Well, let's say you have a lamb, all right? And that lamb is less than 1 year old and is drinking the milk of his mom. Technically, you cannot eat that lamb because it doesn't have the attributes of a clean animal yet. To be considered an eatable clean animal, you have to chew the cud, divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed. Technically, that youth of that animal doesn't chew the cud because it's still sipping on his mother's milk, the breast milk. So you can't eat that because it doesn't chew the cud yet. Now, when it gets up there in age, then biblically, okay, you will be able to eat that animal. But you can't see a kid in his mother's milk. So you can't deal with an animal that's still on his mother's milk that doesn't chew the cud. Right? That might be what you talking about, if I'm not mistaken. All right. From Reclaim Masculinity. Question, can Satan answer your prayers? Right? Can Satan answer your prayers? Satan can't answer your prayers. All right. Now, Satan could obviously hear you pray for certain things, but Satan is not he's in the third heaven. He's hearing the prayers of the saints and it's coming to him as an incense before him. All right. And he's just sitting back. No, that's the Lord does that. That's the Most High's job. Now, what I can say, Satan can cast down your prayers. But as far as Satan answering your prayers and, giving what you giving, that's not even his office. That's not even his job. Now, Satan could cast down your prayers. You might pray up to the Most High, but Satan is blocking your prayers. And he kind of take one away so it don't reach the Lord. Let's go to the book of Daniel. All right. Let's go to the book of Daniel. Right, it's the book of Daniel, chapter 10, and verse number 12. It says, Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, from the first day that thou didst set thy heart to understand, and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard. I am come for thy words. So Daniel was fasting and praying for 21 days. that you read about in the book of Daniel, the 9th chapter. It says, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 1 and 20 days. Now, on the spirit, when this going into the prince of the kingdom of Persia, that's going into the spiritual demon Satan. All right, because he's the prince he's the prince of the air that you read about. All right, he's literally the prince of the air of this world. Let's go to that in the book of John. Prove that. All right, let's go to the book of John, chapter 12, and verse number 31. All right, this is John 12 and 31. It reads, now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. Right, so the prince of this world is talking about the spiritual demon Satan. So the spiritual Daniel was praying and fasting for 21 days. But even in the midst of that 21 days, you had the prince of the kingdom of Persia, which withstood him. Meaning he was trying to block that prayer from reaching the Most High God in that fasting. But the Most High still heard that. Going back to Daniel chapter 10 and 13, it says, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 1 and 20 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, it's like it, but Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days, for yet the vision is in many. So if it wasn't for Michael helping out, the prince of Persia, he would have kind of overthrew Daniel's prayer. But as far as Satan hearing those prayers, that's for the Most High to hear. Let's go to the book of Revelation. All right, Satan's job is not to answer the prayers. All right, Satan's job is to go to and fro in the earth. And, Satan has many things as his job. To distract you. All right, to get you to deny the Lord, to tempt you, to cause you to go off against God. Right, this is the book of Revelation chapter 8 and 4. I'm going to start at verse 2. It's Revelation 8 and 2. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them that were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. So when you pray on a spiritual level, it's a golden altar full of incense which is in this altar, in this golden censer. All right, now the censer is what you use for the incense. Now it's inside this golden censer, you have nothing but the prayers of the Israelites. The prayers of the saints is in this censer. All right, verse 4. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. So all of those prayers ascend up to the Most High, and God actually hears those prayers. And it's up to him whether he want to grant that prayer request, or, he could deny your prayer request. Certain prayers don't reach unto God certain days. When you read the book of Jeremiah, let's go to Jeremiah. It kind of took Jeremiah a while to get his prayer answered. Right? It's the book of Jeremiah chapter 42 and verse 4. Then Jeremiah the prophet said unto them, I have heard you. Behold, I will pray unto the Lord your God according to your words. And it shall come to pass that whatsoever the thing the Lord shall answer you, I will declare it unto you. I will keep nothing back from you. Jumping down to verse number 7. So Jeremiah said he was going to pray for the people. And it came to pass after 10 days that the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. Right, so it took 10 days for Jeremiah's prayer to get answered. So a lot of the prayers that you throwing up right now, it's not getting answered right away. It's not happening. Certain prayers, we just read, it took Daniel for 21 days. That prayer request that Daniel was sending up, he had to struggle with the spiritual demon Satan. Michael had to come and help out. You might pray and your prayer don't get answered for a whole month. You ever notice when you praying, you say, man, I've been praying for a long time on this situation and it finally happened. That means that prayer that you've been throwing up didn't happen like that. You might have been praying for a situation, and guess what? A month later, it got answered. 2 months later, you might have been praying, man, I'm praying that the Most High give me a new apartment. Boom, 6 months later, you got a new apartment. Did the Lord not answer your prayer? No, the Lord answered your prayer, but it probably took a while for it to get answered. It's a lot of stuff that's going on spiritually that people don't recognize. Certain people, they start praying, they start saying, yeah, man, I've been praying for damn 8 months, man. God can't be real. If it's a God, why is he answering my prayers? Hold on, brother, it don't work like that. It's a lot of spiritual activity that's going on. A demon could be hindering your prayers. The Lord could you could be in sin and the Lord simply just not dealing with your prayers. All right, let's go to that in John chapter 9. So it's it's levels to this. Right, it's John chapter 9 and verse number 1. Well, John 9 and 31. All right, not John 9 and 31. Now we know that God heareth not sinners, but if any man be a worshiper and doeth his will, him he heareth. So God doesn't hear sinners. So you might be in sin. That's why God is not hearing your prayers. Now you can get your prayers reaching to God more quicker. All right, we about to show you. All right, let's go to the book of Sirach. All right, let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 35. Right, one of my favorite fundamental precepts. Right, this Sirach, chapter 35, and verse number 16. He that serveth the Lord shall be accepted with favor, and his prayer shall reach unto the clouds. So you actually have those clouds. When you up in the air, those clouds are not light. And some of those clouds is thick. All right, it says, verse 17, the prayer of the humble pierceth the clouds. Until they come nigh, he would not be comforted. So if you're a humble person, when you throw up your prayer, it's going to go straight through the clouds. Straight through the first heaven, through the second heaven, through the third heaven, like that. Now, if you prideful, you might pray, even if you don't know you prideful, you might pray, and it's taking a what? The Lord not really answering that. But hey, guess what? The man that's humble, that's moving in the spirit of humility, when he prays, it's going straight through the clouds. It says, and he would not depart to the Most High, shall behold to judge righteously and execute judgment. So the prayer of the humble pierces the clouds. If you want your prayer to get faster into the Lord, you got to incorporate humility into your life. All right, we're going to the next question from Reclaimed Masculinity. Second question, does the Heavenly Father choose your spouse or do you choose on your own? All right, so basically everything is predestined. Let's get that precept in Isaiah 46. All right. Isaiah chapter 46 and verse number 10. It says, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure. So everything is already declared from the beginning. Once you find out that everything is already predestinated, everything is meant to happen before it happens, everything is declared literally the end from the beginning, your life becomes a lot easier. You don't, you don't stress a lot over certain things. Things don't affect you as much. So your spouse or your significant other was appointed from you from the beginning. If you're with your wife right now, before y'all was even created in the third heaven, at the beginning of the creation, before God even created the angels, you were meant to be with your significant other or your spouse. All right, that's how it goes. So when you look at certain relationships that didn't happen in your life, you might have wondered, wow, why was I never with this person? Or why didn't this relationship work out? Why didn't this woman that I went to, why didn't this work out? Because she wasn't for you. Or vice versa. You might be a sister. Why did this relationship work out with this guy or with this guy? Well, guess what? That wasn't your king. You have something called a kingdom spouse that the Christian community loves to use that word. But you actually have a spouse that was appointed to you from the beginning. That no matter what you do or what you go through, they are for you. So as many different people that you wanted to be with, but it's not up to you, it's up to God. Let's go to Proverbs 18:21. So that girl that you wondering, dang, why didn't we work out? Well, guess what? She wasn't for you. All right. That man that you was with, God, he was a good man. Why did me and him work out? Well, that's because he wasn't for you. He was for somebody else. All right. This is Proverbs chapter 18 and all right, Salakia. Might be 21 and 18. Right, Proverbs chapter Salakia 4. Right, that's what I wanted. Proverbs 21 and 2. Right? It's another precept I was looking for, but that's okay. All right. But basically paraphrasing, the Lord says, there are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord thou shalt stand. I believe that's Proverbs 18, but we could bring out Proverbs 21 and 2. It says, every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. All right, so the way that you think might be right in your eyes, you might think that this person is for you. You might think that the Lord appointed you this person. Nevertheless, the Lord is not dealing with what you think. Didn't the Lord say, trust not in thy own heart, but all thy ways lean unto him, and not lean unto thy own understanding? In Proverbs 3 and 5. And in our community, if you ask me, a lot of times in our community, we don't lead unto God with these relationships. That's why a lot of relationships tend not to work out, whether that's in Israel or even in the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American community, because a lot of things is forced. With you knowing that everything is going to happen for a reason, and people, even not just your significant other or your spouse, but people that's in your life are meant to be in your life for a reason, for a season. Whether that's a friend, an enemy, a brother, etc. All right, this is Proverbs 19 and verse number 21. It says, there are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord that shall stand. So whatever, you might have many different devices in your mind. Don't matter what you think or what you want, whatever the Lord wants, that's going to happen. Now let's go to the book of Tobit. All right, and Tobit is an excellent story. And another thing, you ever wonder why it might have been a couple that you might see together, and you in your head like, dang, are they two together? They don't even look right. It's not about that they don't look right. It's about spirits. Those spirits are for each other. So a wicked man and a wicked woman are going to be for each other. It don't matter how they look. The man might be handsome and the woman might be unattractive. And you wonder, why are they together? Well, guess what? Their spirit is meant for each other. The righteous are with the spirits of the righteous. Everything is meant for each other. You might be a brother in this truth, and you're righteous and your wife is wicked. And the Most High put y'all together. But guess what? The Lord put y'all together. The Lord put Job and his wife together. Job was righteous, his woman was wicked. Boom, put them together. You had Abigail, she was righteous, Nabal was wicked, but the Lord put them together. So everything is for a reason. All right, let's go to Tobit. All right, so this is the book of Tobit, chapter. It says, precepts. Let's come to you. Right, this Tobit chapter 7, well, Tobit chapter 6 and verse 17. And the devil shall smell it and flee away and never come again anymore. But when thou shalt come to her, rise up both of you and pray to God, which is merciful, who will have pity on you and save you. Fear not, for she is appointed unto thee from the beginning. Right, so Sarah was appointed unto Tobias from the beginning. So from the beginning, Sarah, when she would be born, she and Tobias in the future were going to be together. Nothing could stop that. And as you see, all of her husbands that she tried to marry, they all got killed. Why? Because they wasn't for her to be married to. Tobias was for her to be married to. So the Most High might have you dodge a lot of bullets just for you to be with the spouse that God has created you from the beginning to be with. It says, and thou shalt preserve her, and she shall go with thee. Moreover, I suppose that she shall bear thee children. Now when Tobias had heard these things, he loved her, and his heart was effectually joined to her. So once Tobias heard all of these things, everything clicked. When you meet your significant other, everything is gonna click. It's not gonna be no second guessing. Well, you kind of, I don't know about you. I'm kind of if none of that. Once you meet your significant other and the time is right according to the Most High's time, everything is gonna click. It's gonna be without a shadow of a doubt. It's not gonna be one-sided. It's gonna be for both sides. All right, but Lord willing, that answer your question. From Shabash Chayal WFI, can you break down Deuteronomy 12 and 15? All right, let's deal with it. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 12 and 15. Deuteronomy 12 and 15, notwithstanding, thou mayest kill and eat flesh in all thy gates, whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. The unclean and the clean may eat thereof, as of the roebuck and as of the hart. Only ye shall not eat the blood, ye shall pour it out upon the earth as water. Right, so you might read this verse, you might say, well, hold on. You know, the Lord said we could eat the unclean and the clean. All right. I thought Leviticus 11 said we can only eat the clean foods. Right, what is it talking about? Right, when you jump up in this context, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 12. I'm gonna start at verse I'm gonna start at 11. When you start at to verse 1 and 2, this is all when we going into the land. All right, the Most High is saying, overthrow the altars, get all the false gods out, etc. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 12 and 11. Then there shall be a place which the Lord your God shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. going into Shiloh. All right. That was the place that the Most High chose. And then over time, it changed. It says, thither shall ye bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings and your sacrifices, your tithes and the heave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which ye shall vow unto the Lord. And ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God, ye and your sons and your daughters, and your men servants, and your maid servants, and the Levite that is within your gates, for as much as he has no part nor inheritance with you. Because the Levites, they will be on the outskirts. They inherited the suburbs. It says, take heed to thyself that thou offer not thy burnt offerings in every place that thou seest, but in a place which the Lord shall choose in one of thy tribes. There thou shalt offer thy burnt offerings, and there shalt thou do all that I command thee. Notwithstanding, thou mayest kill and eat flesh in all thy gates. Whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. The unclean and the clean may eat thereof, as of the roebuck and as of the hart. Only ye shall not eat the blood, ye shall pour upon the earth as water. Thou mayest not eat within thy gates the tithe of thy corn. So it's going into a person that's in the gates and that's not in the gates. Now for the Israelites, we understand, we know we can't eat any unclean foods. Let's go to Leviticus 11. All right, we're gonna come back to that. All right, we want to establish that none of the scriptures may be broken. Right, it's Leviticus 11 and 46. It says, this is the law of the beast and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and of every creature that creepeth upon the earth, to make a difference between the unclean and the clean, and the beast that may be eaten, and the beast that may not be eaten. So you have beasts that may be eaten, and you have beasts that's not supposed to be eaten. Now, it says, notwithstanding, thou mayest kill and eat flesh in all thy gates, whatsoever thy soul lusted after, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. The unclean and the clean may eat thereof, as of the roebuck and as of the hart. Only ye shall not eat the blood, ye shall pour it upon the earth as water. So you have within thy gates, and then you have without thy gates. So when you read Leviticus 11 and 46, again, the Most High gives the animals that's to be eaten and that's not to be eaten. For example, let me go to Genesis chapter 9, right? Let's go to the book of Genesis. Right, this is Genesis chapter 9 and verse number 3. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things. Right? It says, but with the flesh, with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, ye shall not eat. So in Genesis 9 and 3, it says, every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the herb which I have given you. So you don't want to take that, say, well, every living thing that's moving, hey, the Most High gave us to eat that. That would be impossible, because when you read Genesis 7, Noah, he knew about the clean beast and he knew about the unclean beast. All the way during the time of Genesis, the 7th chapter. So you have to know what that's going into and what that means. You don't want to take that out and next thing you know, you think we could eat clean and unclean beasts. All right. Let's get that precept real quick. In Genesis chapter 7 and 2, it says, and of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by 7, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by 2, the male and his female. So you have clean beasts that Noah already knew about, and he knew about the unclean beast as well when you read on in the chapter. All right, let's move on. From Laura Andrea Hines, call law Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Hey, my beloved brother, does the Most High Creator Yahweh controls all things at all times of the creation? Hasn't he predetermined everything? Right? Absolutely. All right. We went over a verse earlier, but absolutely God controls all things at all times. All right, let's get Isaiah chapter 45. Right, this is Isaiah 45:7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So God actually controls all things. All right, there's no, God controls half of this, and then Satan, he controls half of this. No, the Lord controls everything, whether that's light, darkness, peace, good, evil. God does everything. A trumpet being, let's go to Amos real quick. Amos chapter 3. All right, if a trumpet's being blown in a city, hey, the Lord is doing that. All right, let's go to the book of Amos chapter 3. All right, this is Amos chapter 3 and verse 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in a city, and the people shall not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord have not done it? So that when you read Amos the 3rd chapter, 4 on down to 6, is letting you know in a kind of funny way that the Lord controls all things, and all things are predestined. Everything is according to destiny. All right, let's get one more. Let's go to the book of Romans, chapter 8. All right, this is Romans chapter 8 and verse number 28. For we know that all things work together for good to them that are called, that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. So everything is predestined. If you're watching this, if you're in this truth, God predestinated you to be in this truth before you was even born. All right, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 1. If you're a prophet, God ordained you to be a prophet. If you're a woman, God created you to be a woman even before you was a woman. All right. It's Jeremiah chapter 1 and 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. So God knew you before you was even a fetus in your mother's womb. All right. When you was a sperm cell and your fathers, you know what? The Lord already knew you. It says, before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. So Jeremiah was already predestined to be a prophet before he was a fetus in his mother's womb. Next question. From Derek Moss, the Bible speaks on the Israelite men having a beard and not cutting it off. Shouldn't all Israelite males, no matter what nation, gather from have? I'm going to read that again. The Bible speaks on Israelite men having a beard and not cutting it off. Absolutely. Shouldn't all Israelite males, no matter what nation, gather from have? So I'm assuming that you're saying no matter what nation you come from, you should have a beard on your face. If that's what you're asking, absolutely. All right, if you're a man, you should have a beard. I mean, it's kind of plain. All right, the Lord commanded the Israelites to have a beard. That's a badge of manly dignity. All right, let's see if we can pull up the Zondervan real quick. Oh, dang. 1 second. Pull up this book if I have it. All right, we're going to pull up. We got the Bible Compact Dictionary. About to pull up beard real quick. All right. Let's see. So you have beard. All right. 1 second. You have beard, a badge of manly dignity. As a sign of mourning, it was a custom to pluck it out or cut it off. The Israelites were forbidden to shave off the corners of their beards, probably because it was regarded as a heathenish sign. So, yeah, beard is a badge of manly dignity. A part of your manhood is having a beard. All right. Even it's a word, I have to find it out again. But basically, even women prefer men to have beards. Most women in the earth prefer men to have beards. If you don't have a beard, or if you can't produce a beard, statistics say that you have signs of low testosterone. Because if you have high testosterone, your beard will kind of come in like that. So that's just a little statistics behind it as well. And if you don't have a beard and you could grow one, now if you can't grow one, you know, that's understandable. It is certain ways to where you can grow one. Most of it is genetics. But if you're on track to having a beard, you could take biotin, use certain oils. You could stimulate the hairs with a roller. That can help bring your beard in. Make sure you're producing healthy testosterone, whether that's by exercise, eating, having a good diet, etc. So it's ways, if you kind of growing it, use ways you can have it come in even more. But if you could grow a beard and you shaving it off, you should be ashamed of yourself as a man. Go to 2 Samuel. You should be absolutely ashamed of yourself. All right. This is 2 Samuel chapter 10 and verse number 3. And the princes of the children of Ammon said unto Hanun their lord, thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he hath sent comforters unto thee? Have not David rather sent his servants unto thee to search the city and to spy it out and to overthrow it? So David sent out servants with gifts to this king of Ammon to show comfort. But these men of Ammon, they thought that David sent these spies to search out the land. So verse 4, it says, wherefore Hanun took David's servants and shaved off the one hair of their beards and cut off their garments in the middle, even to their buttocks, and sent them away. So this man shaved off one half of their beards. It says, when they told it unto David, he sent to meet them, because the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. So when these men had one half of their beard like literally shaved off, they was ashamed. If I don't have my beard, I might freak out, man. I'm gonna lose it. All right. Now you got certain people nowadays, they say you have a beard or you look too old. Cut it off. Your mom might say, it's all messy. Just cut it all off. No, you're not dealing with that, man. All right. For some odd reason, anytime you try to keep the laws of God, it's always a problem. I don't get that. All right. Well, I do actually get it, but you know, that's crazy. No, you had this one job. They told me to cut my beard off if you wanted to work here. At McDonald's, you shave off your beard if you want to be an employee there. That's insane. So absolutely, all Israelite men should have beards. Next question from Derek Moss. If an Israelite man developed a George Jefferson style baldness, is it unlawful to completely cut it bald to look better? All right, let's go to it. Let's go to Leviticus. All right. So if a brother gets a George Jefferson, Let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 13. All right, it's Leviticus chapter 13 and verse number 40. And the man whose hair is falling off his head, he is bald, yet is he clean. So you might have hair that's falling off your head. All right, might have a George Jefferson. You still can't cut it bald. All right, you still can't cut it bald. You are still considered clean. But certain brothers, they might have one hair on this side, one hair on this side, but bald in the middle. You can't shave off the other hairs, and just because you're going bald, according to the eyes of God, you're still clean. Are people gonna make fun of you? Maybe. You might want it to look better. Hey, Elisha, he was bald, and he didn't cut off his hair. All right. No, I would have to go into the George Jefferson and look, but let's go to 2 Kings. All right, let's go to the book of 2 Kings, chapter 2. 2 Kings 2 and verse 23. And he went up from thence unto Bethel, and as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. So you had children that was making fun of Elisha for having a bald head. His hair was just falling off. Verse 24. And he turned back and looked on them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and tear 40 and 2 children of them. So he looked back, cursed them, and God sent 2 she-bears. And if you know anything about bears, she-bears are more aggressive than men bears are. So, Elisha was bald, yet he didn't shave off his head. All right, next question from Swag Society. If 1 or 2 of your family members aren't fully in the truth, are they allowed to keep the holy days with you as long as they aren't breaking any laws? Could this help build them up? Right? Absolutely, it can help build them up. Right? When you go into it, Yahushua, he sat with the publicans and sinners. All right? Christ sat with the publicans and sinners. Why did he sit with the publicans and sinners? But he sat with them so he could bring them repentance. Right? Go to the book of Matthew chapter 9 and verse number 10. And it came to pass, as Jesus sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto his disciples, Why eateth your master with publicans and sinners? But when Yahushua heard that, he said unto them, They that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. But go ye and learn what that meaneth. I will have mercy and not sacrifice, for I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. So Christ, when he was on the earth, he sat with publicans and sinners. Why? Because he knew him sitting with them was going to cause at least one of them, if not all, to repent and believe on him as the Son of Man. Now, I will say this. When you keeping these high holy days, these are very holy, sanctified days. And if you're not in the right spirit, you could mess up one of these high holy days. All right. Now, if they not fully in the truth, if somebody that's not fully in the truth, would I have them keep a feast day? Absolutely not. I'm only gonna have people keep feast days that are fully in this thing, that fully believe. Because you don't want to force somebody to keep a feast day, yet they're not fully invested. All right? They don't really care. They're only doing it because you kind of saying them, you kind of bring them along, because that could cause the Most High to judge them. All right? Now, you might want to show love and have them, but guess what? Everybody is not called in this truth. You have to understand that. You really want to only be eating with the righteous and the just. I don't want to be eating with people that are not fully in the truth, because that's going to throw my spirit off. They don't really believe in this thing. All right. Let's go to the book of Sirach. Can you want to have the righteous eat and drink with thee and be merry? Right, this is Sirach chapter 9 and verse 15. Let thy talk be with the wise, and all thy communication in the law of the Most High. And let just men eat and drink with thee, and let thy glorying be in the fear of the Lord. So you want just righteous men to eat and drink with thee. Right? If my father, if he's halfway in the truth, I might tell him, hey, it's a feast day coming up. We got to keep this. Would you be willing to keep it? If he kind of like, I don't know. Well, guess what? It is what it is. He don't have to keep it. That's cool. But if he says, you know what? Okay, I do want to keep these feast days. I do want to learn more about it. Then that's absolutely fine. You want to kind of gauge their spirit at the same time. You know? All right, next question. From Tim. Question, Shalom. Could you pray in your head without speaking it out? Satan is unable to read your mind. Satan is unable to read your mind, right? That could be a way to avoid him from knowing what you're praying about. I mean, can you pray in your head? You could throw up a prayer in your head. Is that better than praying in your secret place? Absolutely not. All right. You might be praying in your head because there's a lot of people around you. You can't go into the bathroom. The bathroom is locked. Your peoples might be in the living room. You might be at a family function. You could be anywhere. But you want to chiefly duck off somewhere, whether that's outside, that's by a tree, you know, that's in the cut in your car. And then you want to pray to the Father the correct way. Because absolutely, don't think that Satan don't read your mind. In fact, Satan starts in your mind. Satan plays on your mind. In order for Satan to tempt you, he has to get in your head. Those little thoughts that you get, oh, no, you shouldn't do this. Oh, yeah, absolutely, go ahead and do this. You know, you know you're tired. Just go ahead and lay down. Oh, you know she looks good. She's very attractive. Go talk to her. Or you know he could possibly be your future husband. Those different things, those thoughts, that's Satan. So Satan, absolutely, he's in your mind. All right? Hey, Satan is going to say, you know what? Don't get on your knees. Don't get on your knees. Don't face the east. Just pray in your head while you laying down in your bed. No, the Lord is not, I'm sorry, but the Lord is not dealing with that. All right? It's a proper way to pray. All right? It's a proper way to go about certain things. You have to do things correctly. All right? Regardless of what you're doing. So you do have to still face the east when you pray. You do have to pray with your head covered as a woman, with your head uncovered as a man. You have to pray to the true name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. You have to prepare what to say. You have to do all things like it's a regular prayer. Go into your secret place. I wouldn't kind of cut shortcuts and go different ways about praying, because that could get you in big trouble with the Most High. All right. All right, but let's just get a precept on that. All right. Let's go to the book of Luke. This is the book of Luke, chapter 22 and verse 3. It says, then Satan entered into Judas Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. Right? So Satan entered into Judas Iscariot, meaning what? He entered into his mind to get him to depart, go to the elders, chief priests, and scribes, get that 30 shekels of silver, then sell out Yahweh Shai. All of that started from Satan coming into your mind, because you won't be able to perform a lot of things that you do unless it comes from your mind. Everything starts in your mind. All right, a lot of things start from your mind. So we'll move on to the next question. From Swag Society, where did the thief on the cross with Christ go? I know it says paradise, but doesn't that mean his spirit was at rest like all the other souls do when people die? Absolutely. Let's go to Luke chapter 23. Let's go to Luke chapter 23 and verse number 41. It says, but we indeed justly, for we received the due reward of our deeds. But this man have done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, today thou shalt be with me in paradise. Now, a lot of people think when Christ said, today you should be in paradise with me, that he was talking about the kingdom. Now, it's a possible chance that this man may be in the kingdom. We're not disagreeing with that. But this paradise that he was talking about, you have two paradises. You have the kingdom of heaven, which is a paradise, absolutely. But you have paradise, which means the third heaven, where all spirits go when you die. Let's prove that. Let's go to the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 12. Right, so according to the Bible, you have three heavens. You have the sky, which is the first heaven. You have the waters that are above the waters, which is the second heaven. And then you have the third heaven, where the Most High dwells, all the angels, etc., which is the third heaven, also known as paradise. Right, this is 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse number 2. I knew a man in Christ about 14 years ago, whether in the body I cannot tell, or whether out of the body I cannot tell. God knoweth. Such as one caught up to the third heaven. So this man that he knew about 14 years ago, he was actually talking about himself. Verse 3, I knew such a man, whether in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell, God knoweth. How that when he was caught up into paradise, and heard unspeakable words, which is not lawful for a man to utter. So Paul associated the third heaven with paradise. Why? Because when you go into the third heaven, it's nothing but rest, peace, and quiet. All right? You're literally at rest. That's how the souls are when they're in the third heaven. And we're going to get to that. But let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. So that man that was crucified with Christ, his soul went to paradise, which was the third heaven, where all souls go when they die. All right, this is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. Well, slack it. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 7. Then shall the dust return to earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. All right, so that spirit will turn unto the Most High, which is in the third heaven. And then up there, depending on the situation, that spirit will remain there until the second coming of Christ, or that spirit will get sent back down to be regenerated on the earth. Let's go to the next question. From Swag Society. Also, when they say Christ went to hell, which I know is false, what scriptures cut that? The water. Christ went to hell. I'm not showing that one. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you might have to pull up the verse where it says Christ went to hell. But I think you're talking about Isaiah 42:7, where it says to open the blind eyes, to bring out the prison, the prisoners from the prison, and to them that sit in darkness out of the prison houses. Because Christ did teach in the prisons. All right. Meaning those men that were took captives by those spirits. All right. Or he preached in hell, meaning those people that was at a lower state. Because hell represents a lower state. Hell represents death. Before us coming into the truth, we was all at a lower state. We was all spiritually dead. All right. Let's go to Jonah 2:1, showing you what hell actually means. Hell is not a place. That's Greek mythology, where you get Hades from. I believe in Greek mythology, they believe that Hades is the god of the underworld, and the underworld being hell. And you got the hellhounds and the dogs and all type of seducing spirits down there. That's all Greek myths. All right, let's go to the book of Jonah. Right, this is Jonah chapter 2:1. Then Jonah prayed unto the Lord his God out of the fish's belly, and said, I cried by reason of my affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me out of the belly of hell. Cried I, and thou heardest my voice. So we all know that Jonah was in the belly of the whale 3 days and 3 nights. But Jonah just said he was in hell. So is Jonah actually underneath the earth? No, that hell represents affliction, lower state. And the Lord said in Psalms 139, let's go to that. Let's go to Psalms chapter 139 and verse 8. If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. So is God in hell and in heaven? All right, what is this talking about? Again, this represents a lower state. When you read the Songs of the Three Holy Children, with also known as Daniel the 3rd chapter, a God, the Lord delivered them from hell. That don't mean they were underground. They was just in the burning furnace, in the burning fiery furnace. All right, let's go to the Songs of the Three Holy Children. And Apocrypha verse number see what I want. Judgment, where I see this. Concerns. It's like it, bear with me while I look for this. I thought it was verse 16. All right. All right, that's fine. We can get another precept. I was looking for a precept in there, but that's okay. Lord willing, he comes back. All right, let's go to Psalms chapter 16. Let's go to Psalms chapter 16, dealing with that hell. Right, this is Psalm 16 and verse number 10. It says, for thou would not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thy Holy One to see corruption. Again, does that mean that the Lord is not gonna leave Christ's soul in hell? Is that what it's talking about? So Christ is going to hell now? No, that's just saying, hey, the Lord is not gonna leave his soul in the grave. All right. Neither is he gonna suffer thy Holy One to receive corruption, to see corruption, rather. So that's all it's going into. From reclaim masculinity. I work out a lot running miles, and I know women supposed to dress modest. How can women wear workout clothes and still dress modest and not wearing a man's garment? Um, I know a sister that's in our camp. She runs track, and while she's running track, she still has on a skirt, you know, with the fringes on while she's running track. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but you could get you a skirt. You can still have on a skirt with underclothes underneath the skirt and still work out while you keeping the commandments of the Lord. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but Lord willing, you could look up modest running gear or something. But it actually is something where you can exercise and still keep the commandments as a woman. So I would just recommend that you look that up online. Go to the next question. All right. If there's not any more questions, okay, I think a sister put it in her chest, women's athletic running skirts. So I believe if you type that in, you know, you could kind of pull that up, right? But if there's not any more questions, we are going to wrap up. All right, brother say he got one more. Well, oh yeah, we'll wait for the question. One question. All right, it says from reclaim masculinity is if everything is predestinated and someone is set up to be destroyed, what's the purpose of trying to keep the commandments if a person is going to fail anyway? I mean, it wouldn't be they wouldn't have a purpose either way. They set up to be destroyed. For example, like Esau, all right, the so-called white man is a great example of what it's like for somebody to be destroyed, that's set up to be destroyed. He's a perfect example because, for one, he thinks that his kingdom is going to continue to be forever. Not only that, these people, like, they think they live in a life. I see them all the time, every single day. This is their kingdom. Everything is going well with them. What they don't know is that they were created to be destroyed. Some of them know, maybe like 2% of them, but the rest, 98% of these Edomites, they think that their kingdom is going to continue forever. Another great example, Egypt. Egypt was set up just for the Most High God. All right. Egypt was set up just for the Most High God to destroy it and to show how much powerful he is. So the reason why America and the kingdoms of this earth was set up is just to show how powerful the Most High and Yahweh Shai is. All right. Let's go to the classic Proverbs. And I really can't wait till when they be destroyed, it's going to be a beautiful destruction. All right, this is Proverbs 16:4. The Lord have made all things for himself, yet even the wicked for the day of evil. So everybody, this is the Most High's movie. Everybody has to play a part. You have to have the antagonist and you have to have the protagonist. This isn't every movie that you see, majority of it. Majority of movies have an antagonist and a protagonist. Everybody has to play their role. You can't just come in a movie and just play any role that you want to. The Most High has specific roles. All right. Let's go to the book. You have certain people that are actually living in vain. So if you're a heathen, you living in vain. We're going to tell you that right now. If you don't descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you're living in vanity. All right. Let's go to the book of 2nd Esdras. Chapter 9. 2nd Esdras chapter 9 and verse number 21. And I saw and spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of the cluster and a plant of the great people. Let the multitude perish then which was born in vain. So certain people was actually born in vain. Can you believe that? A certain people was born just to party like it's no tomorrow. Drink, have fun, indulge in wicked activities, live it up. Just so when the end of the world comes, for them to be destroyed. Then you had the righteous that were meant to suffer. Go through pain, sufferings, afflictions. Just so when Christ comes back, for them to be delivered. So it says, let the multitude perish then which was born in vain, and let my grape be cleft and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect. So certain people was born in vain. Certain people was born for no reason. You want to make sure that you was born for a reason, and you live up to that purpose. Next question from Rob. What's your go-to book when you need a boost in this hellhole? My go-to book that I'm really reading, maybe Psalms, but I really don't have a go-to book. It's whatever I'm reading in that moment, or is really how I'm feeling. I might go to the book of Job. I might go to some exhortation precepts. I'm really, I might go to different things. So I really don't have a go-to book. I do recommend maybe Psalms to go to a go-to book. That's a good book. If there's no more questions, all right. With that, we want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Komadak Yabushah. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Continue to read, pray, fast, and study. Most importantly, beseech the Heavenly Father for his mercy. Thought I'm say shalom.